Welcome in Jon Wertheim for the first time on this Thursday and immediately saddle Jon with someone else's suspect decision-making. Why are there no women on our top 10 hotheads list, Jon?
You say head cases or hot heads?
Hot heads.
I guess the first answer is that Tracy Austin is retired, so that skews everything.
Oh.
The men do play best of five, so that could be up to 40% more opportunity for a meltdown. No, I don't. I don't want to turn this into gender studies, but I do think there are probably some differences in socialization. And you know what? Honestly, the math bears this out. Sometimes we look at the fine list at the majors, players who are fined during the tournament. Last time I did that in about 2018, on the four majors, the men's accounted for almost 90% of the fines. So the take issue with the list, there are some women players, I might contend, that occasionally depart from poise. But I think there's actually some math supporting the fact that men are the predominant head cases in tennis. But, Tracy, if you don't have steam coming out of your ear, I turn it over to you.
Yeah, I didn't have steam coming out of my ear very often. Nope, didn't want to do that, lose concentration.
All right, so notwithstanding that our list is missing the women, we have put together, in no particular order of severity, some hothead incidents involving some of your favorite female players over the years. Jimmy, we'll start with Serena, and I dare say there were a few to choose from here, even a few to choose from at the U.S. Open.
Look, I'm one of the few people that sort of understand what she's going through here. She's so competitive. She wants to win so badly. And she has a tattletale for a linesman that she's yelling at. She got a strange call. You don't get called for a foot fault very often. And so I think that sort of set her off in a difficult moment. And she lost her mind a little bit at that time and a couple of other times. By the way, we're going to continue looking at Serena, but the UTR Pro Series that we're going to show, Danielle Collins, she occasionally can show some emotion. So I don't know, that's another name that we could add to the list.
Yeah, certainly Serena lost her mojo a couple of times at the U.S. Open. And this was obviously difficult to watch at that critical stage of the match. And, that little linesman, Serena, obviously we know what she said to her, and she told on Serena. It was just one of those unfortunate incidents. And then since this has been, these hothead has come up in 2016, obviously Osaka, that incident was, I think, even worse, where so many people in the crowd were actually crying. So those are a couple of unfortunate incidents.
Just to defend that lineswoman, Jimmy, you called her a tattletale. Serena threatened to shove a tennis ball down her throat. I might tattletale on that also, just in her defense.
It's true. It's true.
Jon, here's another hothead. This is, Coco did crack into the top 10. Coco Vandeweghe we're talking about. She is world class when it comes to racket smashing.
Yeah, let's define our Cocos here.
Is there anybody better at that in the women's game?
I mean, she's got racket head speed, certainly, huge serve, and she uses it to great effect when destroying rackets.
How about this when the crowd starts to get involved? Okay, bring it. Come on. Come on.
And then she goes back for a few more swats. I love it. I love that sort of. That's the hothead stuff that I actually enjoy and like to see someone lose it.
The only thing that could have been better is if she had done a Baghdadis and gone and pulled some rackets out of the plastic and broken those as well, which Marcos did in Australia. How about, Tracy, this one, and Prakash isn't with us. Karolina Pliskova, this came out of nowhere in Rome, didn't it?
It really did. She usually doesn't make a peep. You don't know what the score is. There's no change of her facial expression, but she got robbed that day. It was, oh, wow. And here she takes a couple of big whacks at the umpire stand. I think she was wanting that thing to just topple right over because her ball was well inside the line and it was called out. She was actually showing the mark. The umpire was showing the wrong mark. So just that's where you lose your cool. She normally doesn't.
Can I be the district attorney here? I think we ought to draw a distinction between if Coco Vandeweghe smashes his rat, everyone kind of gets a laugh out of it. She takes some steam up. Hitting the umpire's chair, I think, is a different level in the penal code there. I would say we ought to differentiate the act of sort of self-flagellation from something that's potentially dangerous to someone else. But no, I think sometimes we have these acts that are out of character, and a lot of times those are the ones that we remember most. The players who we know are hotheads, we almost expect them, whether it's Nick Kyrgios, to a lesser extent Coco Vandeweghe. We almost expect an eruption every now and then. It's really jarring, though, when it's a player we don't necessarily think of as being hot-tempered.
Look, a couple of the players that made our list, David Nalbandian at number 10, he really wasn't a hothead. He just kicked, he wasn't trying to kick the linesman, but he ended up bloodying the linesman. So that obviously is something that's remembered. And another sort of name that you could think about is Denis Shapovalov, if you remember when he was a kid. Yeah. He just let go with one ball. He wasn't trying to hit the umpire. He took out his eyeball. So, I mean, there are times when that sort of happens, and and you're remembered as a hothead when you weren't necessarily. And Pliskova obviously had that same incident.
I feel like I'm spending half the show cleaning up Jimmy's statements. He didn't take out his eyeball. I think he might have fractured his orbital bone, but we get the point.
Somewhere in that range.
Precision is not Jimmy's thing. In any event, we'll go back to the men's list in a minute. And a man so nasty, that was his nickname.